Okay, so here's a quick jog through of how to use your formula sheet when creating your confidence interval. So we're going to stick with the ones that we learned this chapter. That is your one prop Z interval and your one sample T interval for means. Okay. So first thing I want to point out on page number 1. Okay. So first thing that we have the confidence interval right down here. Okay. So just to point out what this is. Okay. So statistic, that is going to be, that's your p hat or your x bar. Okay. It's your proportion or it's your mean. Okay. Critical value, that is your z or your t statistic. Okay. Whichever one you're going to use. Remember, you use z for all proportion question, and you also use z for a means question where the population standard deviation is known. You only use t if it's a means question where the population standard deviation is unknown. As for standard error, we'll get there in 2 seconds. So as I go ahead and scroll down here, this has a bunch of little fun bits of information. Okay, we talked about the standard error. So this is that right side of the equation. Okay, so on that right side for standard error, if it is a proportion, so we have one proportion. All right, that's going to be this guy right here. So this is what goes in for your standard error on a one prop Z interval. Okay. As for the means, just look down a little bit for one population X bar. Okay. That's going to be this right here. It's just S over root N. So you're going to plug one of these two into the confidence interval formula that we just talked about. All right. Moving on. The other thing we need to find out is our critical value. Now, the easiest way to find the critical value is actually going to be on the T table. Okay. First off, little gem right here. This bottom row is the same thing as the Z table. All right. Even though we're on the T distribution right now, the Z and the T curves are the same when the population is infinite. So here's where I'm going. Let's say you have a proportion and you want to do a 99% confidence interval. You just look at 99% right here. You go up, it's 2.576. This saves you the trouble of digging through that Z table and trying to find the right proportion. Okay. Same thing. If you wanted to make a 90% confidence interval where it's a Z distribution, 90%, just go up right here. Where we start going up further is where you have to do a T interval instead. Okay. So you'll get your degrees of freedom. Remember, your degrees of freedom is your sample size minus 1. So you're doing a means question. You have a sample size of 20. Okay, so that means that your degrees of freedom is 19. You just go to this row, go all the way over, and you match it up with whatever your confidence level is at the bottom. All right, so if you were doing a 99% confidence interval with 19 degrees of freedom, your critical value would be 2.861. Let's say that you are doing a Z interval, but it isn't one of these. All right, let's say your teacher gives you a 94% confidence level. Then you have to come back up here. All right, remember, when you are finding this, you want to find the tail size. Okay, so if they're doing a 94% confidence level, so you have 94% in the middle, that means that your tails are going to be 3%. So you want to dig through here and find 0.03. All right, so I'm going to look through here for 0.03 or the closest thing to it. Closest thing to it is going to be this guy right here, 0.0301. Okay. When I look at this, so you go all the way to the left and see it's 1.88. So then your critical value would be 1.88. So that's how you're going to use the formula sheet to find one sample and one prop confidence intervals.